Well, hello everybody. I first want to apologize for the delay. Had just a smidgen of technical difficulties, but hello. I am Vegan Atheist Coral, or on NaNoWriMo, I am Coral Sands, and I want to welcome everyone to our very first virtual write-in. For those that are not sure what a write-in is, but it basically a place for people to be able to come in and maybe do some sprints, maybe get some feedback on some projects that they're working, things like that. Now, normally in the beginning of the stream, we would, say hello to the people that are coming in and kind of find out more about the books that they're writing. But since we were a little bit behind time, I want to just go ahead and get to one of our first sprints, so that way we can get some writing in, and hopefully people that are coming in can join us. And I do have some prompts set up for us, so that way we'll be able to go ahead and do that. Before we get to that, though, I do want to talk a little bit about NaNoWriMo. If you have not heard of NaNoWriMo, NaNoWriMo is the National Novel Writing Month. It is a fun, seat-of-the-pants approach to creative writing, and it's been around for a long time now. But it is pretty daunting and straightforward challenge. The challenge is to write 50,000 words of a novel in 30 days. Now, starting November 1st, we all started on this journey, and we are just kind of like putting our heads down. We're going to give it a go. I don't know about you, but if you divide 50,000 by 30, you get about 1,667 words, and I have not met those daily goals, but that's okay. I give myself permission to fail on those goals because I know overall I will make it up. So I'm not as much worried about that, because I know that on days like today, I am going to just buckle down and I'm going to get a lot of writing done. And that is going to be because of these sprints. Sprint simple concepts. What we do is we set a timer, and we set our intention that we are going to write about whatever prompt or whatever for, say, 10 minutes. And that's a pretty normal prompt. So I have a timer set up on my phone. So that way it'll go off. We'll set the timer for 10 minutes for our first sprint, and we can kind of go ahead and do that. Now, while we're sprinting, I have someone who's helping me out kind of in the background, and he's going to help us out he's going to switch so that you can kind of see what I'm writing, and that way that'll really help. So that way you're actually able to kind of see what I'm doing, and maybe that will trigger a spark or something for something that you're writing. And so I do want to talk about like our first prompt. Our first prompt is one of my favorite things about a lot of stories is like the character that is like the assistant. In my book that I'm working on right now, I have a loyal steed, but sometimes it's a crazy bat, or is a prehistoric rat thing that chases after, squirrel nuts or whatever. And so my question is there a character that's similar to that in your writing? And if there is, what does that companion look like? And if you're doing a more realistic story, maybe it's a dog or a cat or a pet rat or something along those lines. I like these types of characters because it kind of gives us someone to kind of for the main character to bounce ideas off of and stuff like that. And so I can have my character kind of talk out loud to the character. In one of my books, I actually have my main character talks to her pet bunny, and like after a bad date, and just talks to the bunny. And it's a really good writing tool, I think, because it helps show the relationship between the two characters, but also it helps move the plot along and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and start our sprint for 10 minutes. Now, don't worry if you aren't able to write the entire time, or if you get kind of stuck. You can go ahead and put something maybe in the chat if you do get stuck and you need some help, and we can try to give you some suggestions. So let's go ahead and click on start. And everybody, we have 10 minutes. I'm not going to talk a bunch while the sprint's going on, but we are now officially sprinting. So the person in the background is going to put up a thing saying, join us, we're sprinting, and show my screen as well. All right. Hopefully. Great, of course. It's more tech problems. I feel like this is 2020 in a nutshell, pretty much. All right. Don't let my technical problems stop you guys from writing. We're writing about our loyal steeds.
I am sorry about that, folks. Coral will be joining us shortly. Okay, now everything's working, Coral.
Okay. I can hear you now, too.
Is this what you wanted to show?
Yes.
Okay.
That, and there should be a thing that says, join us, we are sprinting. Should be a picture. Yeah, that one.
And there you go. Okay. So now what happens? People come in?
Yeah, are we still streaming now?
Yeah, we're streaming.
Are we
again.
back on live? Okay. Okay. Stream is healthy. Okay. All right, great. So we still do have 5 minutes and 32 seconds left of our sprinting. So everyone should be sprinting right now about their loyal steed or their companion or one of those things. Now, as you see, I have an actual picture. This is just it's not one of my pictures. It's just a picture that I'm using as reference. So I actually have a few that I have put together to try to explain what my character is going to end up being. So I'm kind of using them as reference points and stuff like that. So that's kind of what I was doing on that one. All right, we have 4 minutes and 30 seconds. And then we will be moving on to our next one. All right. And I did set up a folder with some music. If you guys want to listen to some music while we are sprinting, I can do that. But we can also just have silence too. It's up to you guys. So for right now, though, we're just going to do that. We have 3 minutes and 35 seconds, and then we will move on to our next sprint. All right, we have about 30 seconds, or excuse me, 20 seconds now. So to finish up your last few sentences and last few thoughts. Hey, if this prompt really got your juices going and you wanted to keep on writing on this, feel free. But if it just didn't do anything, you want something else, well, we're going to have our next prompt very, very shortly. Before we go on to that prompt, though, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Young Writers Program. So I want to make sure that we are back to, yeah, hi again. All right, so our Young Writers Program is pretty awesome. And it takes that joyful, focused approach to creative writing and makes it accessible to young writers, educators, and families. But a lot of people wonder how it works. Basically, what happens is for young writers, basically participants age 17 and under, 18 is okay if still in high school, can sign up for accounts. And I'll make sure that we add the website address to it, but it's ywp.nanowrimo.org. And if you're participating with a teacher or a group leader, you can join their online classroom and stay connected. And to work on a novel, you join an official event like NaNoWriMo in November, or one of the Camp NaNoWriMos in April or in July. And you set your word count goal, and then you try to reach it by the end of the month. The cool thing about the Young Writers Program is it allows participants to set individualized goals. You want to do 1,000 words, 10,000, 100,000? It's literally up to you. So you use progress tracking tools that on the site to stay on track. And if there's no official event that's happening, you can actually create your own personal challenge with your own deadlines or edit an existing project. I've done that a bunch of times. Young writers can write directly in their Young Writers Program writing space or in a separate document and find inspiration in the noveling resources and tap the worldwide community of fellow writers in the support forums. So if you are an educator, though, of all types, adults can facilitate NaNoWriMo in schools, libraries, and community centers around the world. And we provide virtual classroom spaces on site, as well as student workbooks, common core line curricula, and free motivational materials. And so that educators can sign up at that same place, ywp.nanowrimo.org. And you might be thinking to yourself, can my students really write novels? Isn't that better to left to like more experienced writers? Well, the answer, our friends, is no. I know me personally, I've been writing up a storm since I was a little girl. One of my first stories that I wrote that I remember vividly, and I still have a copy of, I wrote in second grade, and it was a mystery because I was such a big fan of major mysteries, and I wrote a crime novel. It was not a novel. It was only a couple pages long. So it doesn't matter how young that they are. Anyone can join in, and we really just want to support the younger writers at all ages. You don't even really have to know how to write a novel to write a novel. You may just have to adjust word count expectations based on age and language skills, but trust us, you let the whole class soak in creativity and work like professional authors for a month, and something awesome will definitely happen. Educators can lead their groups through official events like NaNoWriMo in November, or the Camp NaNoWriMos in April and July, or create your own classroom challenge with unique deadlines and specifications. Really awesome part about this is that for families, or maybe part of a homeschool project, or just for fun, because things are crazy right now with everything. Parents or guardians can sign up for educator accounts and host classrooms for your children. We encourage you to set a goal to write alongside them too. It's twice as much fun if you're writing with a friend. And I think it's also really fun to be able to ask, how is everything going? My mom actually is doing NaNoWriMo with me this year. And at the end of the very first day, she called me up. She said, how are you doing? Did you do it? How was your writing? And it was really nice to be able to connect that way, even though because of everything that's going on right now, we're unable to be near each other. So I really do think that it's a really great program. So if you want more information on that, you can go to ywp.nanowrimo.org and get more information there. And then, or you can also email the ywp@nanowrimo.org if you have questions. So with that note, we are going to go on to our next prompt. And I'm just literally going to go to a very random spot in my very fancy creative writing prompt book. What do you do even when you do not feel like it? That's our prompt. So I'm going to go ahead and write this prompt. We're going to switch back over to my Microsoft Word so that way you guys can follow along. I'm going to go ahead and write the prompt here so that way you guys know. What do you do even when you do not feel like it? Now, before I start the official clock for this one, remember, now these prompts, you can use it any way you want it. What do you do? Personally, you could take it as a time to personally write about things that you like to do, or you can think of it from maybe one of the perspectives of one of your characters, maybe from the viewpoint of an antagonist and how they might be doing something even though it might not be good societally, or maybe they're doing something even though they know it's going to have a bad effect on someone else, but they're doing it anyways because they get something to gain from it. So you can use these prompts to kind of figure out the best way to, do it on your end. Or maybe it's something like having, like, my dog, sometimes he will, bump into things and stuff like that, even though you don't really feel like it, so you can use this prompt in many different ways. So try to think outside the box too. I don't want you to be tied up with, I only need to think about things that I personally don't do. Like, I'm going to think about what is something that Lana, my main character in the story that I'm writing, what is she going to do that she knows maybe is not the best thing for her to do, but she's still going to do it because, that it's just something in her brain makes her feel like she's obligated to do it. So that's kind of where my brain is going for my personal character. So we're going to set our timer again for 10 minutes. And we are going to start. Let's try to get my personal goal. I want 100 words. Please, 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 please. All right, so it looks like we got just over 5 minutes left of this current sprint. So, again, if you're just joining us, we're doing what do you do even when you do not feel like it? And remember, you can use it in any way you want to. It doesn't necessarily have to be the you. It could be one of your characters. So we have 5 minutes left of our sprint here. So please come and join us. Just over 2 minutes. So we got it going off. Can you hear vibrate? That would be our 10 minutes. How was that sprint for everyone? Did you get go ahead and in the chat, go ahead and post how many words you got. If you really liked that prompt, definitely I want to hear about that, so that way we can make sure that we are doing a variety of different prompts. I want to hear about what you guys are writing too. So if you guys are writing what genre, that way I can kind of gear prompts towards whatever those are. So if I know that the people that are coming in are doing mysteries, then maybe I can find some prompts that are good for mystery books. Or if you're doing a fantasy, I could do the same. So while we're kind of decompressing from that, and as I said, feel free to post about your stories in the chat, how many words you got. Let's see, what did I get on mine? I got looks like 300 words. So I actually made my small goal. I'm really happy. So it's really awesome. And I can say, all right, I at least got 300. All right, and that's pretty awesome. So we'll have our next prompt soon. But I kind of wanted to see what you guys were doing. For those of you that might be interested, my personal story that I'm working on right now is, and I've never done it before, I'm doing a thriller. And I normally stay away from scary stuff and scary movies. I don't like being scared. But for some reason, with everything that's going on in the world, I felt that my inspiration was trying to figure out a way to get through a lot of my anxiety that I was feeling. And so I figured, why not create a world that I can control? And I like my character because she is not only young, but she's resourceful, and she's a little bit of an outcast, which I really tend to gravitate towards outcasts. I also, the thing about the story that I'm working on is she doesn't really know what's going on, which is something that I feel a lot right now with what's going on, because I'm not super sciencey. So it's really hard with a lot of the misinformation that's out there to try to figure out what's true, what's not true. And so I kind of connect with my main character that way as well. And she makes some bad decisions, and I can relate to that as well. And they say, write what you know. So I guess that's the reason why I write what I currently am writing. So before we go on to our next sprint, I did want to kind of talk a little bit about Camp NaNoWriMo, just so that people can find out a little bit about that. Now, if NaNoWriMo is NaNoWriMo started with November, right? National Novel Writing Month is November every year, rain or shine, or, pandemic or not. So we found that, especially like if you saw my first video, you would have heard my story that I shared, where after my first official one, where I actually did a lot of writing, immediately following, I had so much inspiration that I continued to write even in the months after. Although they do recommend that you kind of take a break in December, spend time with your family and friends and stuff. But I already was so used to setting that intention every day, I was still able to kind of keep that momentum going on into January and February and on, Well, a few years back, I'm not exactly sure when, they started adding something called Camp NaNoWriMo. And it was in, I think, just April. And then they also then added June or July. And so Camp NaNoWriMo works a little bit differently than regular NaNoWriMo in that they tend to do cabins. So it's like small little writers groups, but it's pretty much the same thing. It's a new writing adventure. So every April and July, you get a chance to do something new with your writing. There's a little bit more flexibility with the tools with Camp because you can, again, set your own writing goals. You're not locked into the 50,000 words like NaNoWriMo, like that for the traditional NaNoWriMo. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to get mad at you if you want to be a rebel. You do you. But in Camp, you really do get an opportunity to work on a prior project, work on editing. You can do lots of different things. And so there's a little bit more tools that's more about how much time are you spending on writing versus how many words did you get done, things like that. And so it's a really cool little project that they have going on. It happens 2 times, and it just, again, helps keep the momentum going through the year. I try to peek in on the NaNoWriMo website through the year, but obviously November's our busiest time. And then, of course, April and July tends to be very busy as well. But, that way you can always find someone if you are having a challenge. Maybe you're looking for a beta reader or you want some feedback on your writing. You can find that sometimes over at Camp NaNoWriMo. And so I think we're about to start our next sprint. I'm breaking out my fantastic prep thing. Okay. This should actually be pretty interesting. All right. The prompt that I think that I want to use for the third prompt is write about or event an experience in a forest. I think this is a pretty good one. Now, what if your story doesn't have a forest? Maybe it's a memory. Maybe they are remembering a story that was told to them. Maybe it's a myth. Maybe it's just an incident with a picture that just happens to have a forest. So don't let the prompt single you into one little thing. You want to use it as inspiration to do your writing. So I'm going to flip back over to my thing. I'm going to write down my prompt real quick so that way we can all keep an eye on this. So write about or invent an experience in a forest. I'm quite lucky because I do have a few scenes in my book in a forest, so this would actually be a very good prompt for me. So I'm setting my timer now for 10 more minutes, and we're off to sprinting. Good luck, everyone. Okay, so we have just under 5 minutes now. So we're writing about an experience in a forest or something along those lines. Hope you'll join us if you haven't already, if you're just now joining us. All right, our timer is actually going off. Man, that one went quick, huh? I feel like maybe because I have a lot of different things I could have wrote about in the story. Plus, from prompt 1, we were already talking about a companion animal, so I was able to kind of use multiple things when doing the third prompt. So that was really exciting. So I'm pretty happy with what we got going on there, with at least for me. Let me see about my count. How much count did you get? How much did you write from that prompt? I want to hear about it. Looks like I got 279 words, which is huge win. Every prompt, I just want 100. I just want 10 words. 10 words and I'm happy. Because sometimes you just sit there and nothing comes out, and that's okay, because not always will these prompts be something that will actually prompt you to write. Sometimes I just look at it and go, what am I supposed to do with this? I don't know. But back when I was in school, and I want to say it was high school, one of my favorite things to do was found poems. And you can do found art. Like, that's a lot of times people do that. They find trash to treasure, or they might create some sort of art by using, say, magazines or labels from the recycling. There's different things like that you can do for found art. But one of my favorite things was found poetry. And it was always such a challenge. It's definitely not something that's easy, but I really liked it. And I think found poetry is something that you can do with stories as well. So this prompt that I wanted to get to is going to be a little bit different, because I want it to be more along those lines. So instead of it being like, write about such and such, I'm actually going to give you a list of words. And these words may or may not be connected in some way, but I want you to try to write a scene that implements these words, whatever those words are. And so this is going to be our way of doing a found poem, but it'll be a found scene. We'll call it a found scene. So I'll even write it on my thing, found scene, ? All right, so your words, I'm going to go ahead and I pre-found some based on what, as I said, you can use these things. I have so many different things that I use as a tool. So in this particular one, the main character ignored the warning label. That was their prompt per se, but you don't necessarily have to follow that prompt. I want you to create a scene where you're actually going to use these words. So your first word is comedian. Your second word is commission. Bamboo, bombastic, vast, blonde, gross, sophisticated, if I can spell it, STICAKED, and maybe a mule, and bus. So how many words do we have? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 words. Now, your goal for this next sprint is to try to use as many of these words as possible in a scene and try to make it kind of coherent. Now, don't worry if you're not able to do it the first time, because it is something that takes practice. But some of my favorite things that I did I ended up being able to like implement them into my stories later on and in unique ways. Maybe they become like, I think on one of them I actually created like, it ended up being my MacGuffin, for one of my stories. So you could do the same type of thing. You can use these words in any ways, and we're just doing a quick little scene, and and as you can tell, like just looking at the word bamboo, my head's already going to like, what about the food that pandas eat? Or I have bamboo sheets. So like there's many different things, or it could be a picture of a bamboo. So there's lots of ways that you can take it. So again, don't be afraid to reach and to think about outside the box of how you're going to get each of these things to kind of work together, because the world is your oyster. So we are going to reset the time again, because we're trying to get lots of writing in, and this one's going to be a little bit harder. So I am going to give us 15 minutes for this one. So it is going to be a little bit of a longer break. I am going to try to check in with you guys when we're about halfway through. Again, if you get stuck, feel free to put something into the chat and ask questions. And let's go ahead and see how we can try to make this found scene actually into something. I have no idea what it's going to end up being, because I'm like you. I just now am okay. I have no idea. We'll have to see. So 15 minutes. We're starting our clock. All right. And we're sprinting. We're getting there. We're at 8 minutes and 41 seconds, so we're about halfway. Yeah. One of the things I want to let you guys know, don't be afraid for it to be absolutely terrible like mine. It's okay. So now I'm just going to keep going since I'm a little bit done, a little bit early. I'm going to keep going. Maybe I'll write something else. Maybe I'll keep writing about my pup here. My brain is not working, but that is normal. We have 2 minutes and 21 seconds left, so keep going at it. You guys are doing awesome. All right, if you haven't finished your sentence, go ahead and finish it. Our time is over for this last prompt. Get up quickly. I don't know what I want to say. So maybe that's what she's doing. So, so here we are coming back again. Oh, minutes, which is a good thing. That's why I do these. The first day, I think I wrote 500 words with no sprint, but it had taken me like all day. And then I did like an additional 200 words on yet another one. And I just hadn't really accomplished very much at all. And so it was not very good. But looking at my last few, this last prompt, let's see, I got 387 words. So that's not so bad. I got, we had 300 the first. I'm very, very happy with my prompt so far. It's going to be a pretty good goal. I mean, I've basically done 1,000 so far. So if I can get 600 words by the end of tonight, that would be super, super amazing. So maybe I'll be able to do that with my next prompt. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we spent some time. Want to take a look at the chat and see if there was anybody who had any questions. If you are telling us anything about what genre you're writing about, and please feel free to tell me about what you're writing about. And I wanted to take a moment real quick to talk a little bit about the donation weekend that we just had. our double up donation weekend was from October 30th until November 1st, which was really early. They don't normally do it then, but I did want to share what Grant Faulkner sent out to everybody. He's I believe he's like one of the presidents. He's one of the main dudes. He's pretty awesome. So I wanted to read off his email that he sent out earlier because I think that it kind of gives an idea of some really awesome stuff, and then maybe we will end with a one last quick sprint to the finish. But they had a goal. He said, "Dear writer, if there's one thing I know, it's that the world can never have too many stories or too much generosity. I'm especially grateful because NaNoWriMo community showed once again that it has both in abundance. During this past Double Up donation weekend, you donated a record-breaking $266,617 to blow past our initial goal of $150,000 and our second goal of $200,000. So now we have raised $1.1 million of our annual budget of a $1.4 million annual budget, which means we're posed to support hundreds of thousands of people to write their story and find meaning in the power of words next year. You also wrote some more, and NaNoWriMo novelist inked a record-breaking, let's see if I can do this, remember back in school, 177,395,509 words during the kickoff, blowing past our goal of 140 million words, and our previous Double Up donation record of 130 million words. As we finish with day 3 now of this very dramatic month, we wanted to thank you for not only putting on your noveling pants to write, but for spreading your magic to other in the forums, the virtual write-ins, and via social media. Your generous support takes so many forms, all of which fuel this life-changing creative revolution called NaNoWriMo as it spreads further each year. And remember, that includes nearly 100,000 students who receive free resources through our Young Writers program. Teachers tell us even the most reluctant writers are often transformed into exuberant scribes through NaNoWriMo challenges. So, happy writing. If your novel is like mine, it's calling you. It's a story that demands to be told, and you are the only one who can tell it. So I really, really thought that was a pretty powerful email from Grant. He's one of the executive directors. And if you are able to and want to support either the Young Writers Program or NaNoWriMo, you can do that on nanowrimo.org, which is definitely linked in the description somewhere. So please consider doing that, or you can also buy some pretty awesome NaNoWriMo merch too. So I do want to end off us with a little bit of a bang. So let's try to do just a really quick last prompt. It's only going to be like a really quick 5-minute prompt because we don't have that much time left. So we're going to set our timer here to 5 minutes. And then, but this last prompt, we are going to describe joy. It's just, I want to read about joy. I want to spread joy. And so I'm hoping you will join me in that. So let's go ahead and for our last 5 minutes, do this very last prompt. We are going to describe joy. that's time. So I just wanted to thank everybody for joining us at our very first NaNoWriMo. I want to apologize for our late start and our little bit of technical difficulties. Our very next write-in is actually on Thursday, and I hope everybody will meet me there. Hopefully we will start on time and won't have the same issues. But, you know, if we've learned nothing else from 2020, it is you can only control what you can control, right? So that's what we're going to end on, is we're going to spread some joy, and we're just going to remember that we can only control what we can control. Don't forget to take care of yourselves and each other, and I hope you guys will join us again at 7 p.m. Central Time on Thursday for our next official virtual write-in. Thanks for coming, guys, and bye.